Welcome to the 52 Miniatures Bunker. This is indeed 52 Miniatures. My name is Alex, and this video is sponsored by Squarespace. In a recent video, I painted these 4 orcs. They were part of a paint review. I painted 4 orcs using 4 different brands of paint. And painting the orc skin, I was using a technique that I actually think is a pretty cool way of painting orcs. And so I want to make this video a bit more in-depth, sharing that technique. There's many ways to paint orc skin, but this is one of the good ones. Now, it is also October, and so I believe YouTube will probably just make me spontaneously combust if I don't make videos on orcs for October. And so, another epic tale from the hobby realm. I've been a bit lapse cleaning up after myself during the last projects, but there's bound to be some orcs down here somewhere. No. No. Yes. Orcs. These are strictly not orcs. They're called the Varank for Warcrow, which is a game that I'm playing, but we might as well paint them green because they're kind of orcs. I also realized I have a box of bits from Cromlech. I got these bits when doing another video. I made orc pirates for Stargrave, which was a lot of fun. Just these bits, assembling your own orc, like we've got the doctor here and everything. It's just so much fun. In that video, I went through the fact that you don't really need to, your orcs can be any color. They don't need to be green. But today's technique is just such a great way of making good-looking green skin. So today we're just, we're sticking to green. So we've got Dr. Orc here, sporting a precariously large shotgun. Everything is in order. Time for the Varank, which they're going to be orcs. It's fine. There's actually some, this is like an expansion pack for Warcrow that has dwarf miner fellas in it and a lady sniper, but these dwarves are very cool. They're like Super Mario almost, but smoking cigars and stuff. Anyway, orcs. We're doing orcs. We've got a little bit of green stuff work on a few of them. I needed to fill some gaps and stuff like that. And I know the Warcrow ones aren't your typical kind of an orc. They're a little bit more sort of fancy, but I kind of like the style anyway. And we've got Dr. Orc to just keep us grounded. Now I've got a can of black rattle can primer from Vallejo. It's a bit windy and I should be wearing a mask, but then I wouldn't be able to speak here. And so there we are. I figured black is usually what people have at home, and so we're starting with black. While the primer on these minis cures for a bit, we're going back to school. What do you mean you orc ate your homework? Just kidding. This is a color wheel. Over on this side here, we've got your standard orc colors, sort of greens. On the opposite side of the greens, we've got things like red, pink, orange, stuff like that. What happens when you mix these paints is what you can see in this little window here. See, the red mixed with the green makes sort of a brown. And that's the basis for the technique that we're going to be painting these orcs with. We're going to start with something on this side, paint on thin layers of stuff from this side, and we're going to get a stretch from things like magenta to something a bit more brown to something green to something even more vividly green, creating this really cool texture that I think just makes the orc come alive. So let's go pick out some paints. Yeah, hi, sorry to interrupt. This is Alex from the future, when the orcs are actually all painted and done and everyone's really happy and, congratulations and everything. I just want to clarify. I've already painted 4 orcs in a previous video. The link to that will be in the description and later on also linked in the video. Those orcs are the conservative orcs, you know, if you like your orcs conservative, check out that video for the type of paints and everything. What I'm doing in this video is a showcase of the technique, and I'm using, you know, pretty extreme colors just to show you a different example of how you can do things. Now back to the past. Alex, maybe investing in some good lights would have been a good idea for where you keep the important paints. But remember, this is a bunker. That's not how things are done. Oh look, here's an orc. One of the world's most famous orcs. A gift from Guy from Midwinter Minis. It's the lovely naked ass orc. Thank you, Guy. I've got a bit of a selection here. This is just to show that you can pretty much use whatever you feel like or whatever you want and whatever brand of paint you like. It's not really all that important. We got a few different greens and we got a few different sort of pinkish, orangish, red kind of colors. As we could see from the color wheel, if you have some green paint and you mix in some red paint into that, you do get a sort of brown. We're not really going to be doing that. We're going to be painting with a red first and then put green on top. And so we're not getting the same thing, but we're getting something in the same kind of territory. But I wanted to just show you on a piece of paper what we're going for. Now, I haven't got any straight red going. I just favor the more sort of pink or magenta styles or the orange styles. You can see I've got a darker and a brighter version, and obviously you can just go for red and try that as well. I'm going to paint this up on a piece of paper. We're going to add some green and we're just going to see that little effect that we're after. And next up is obviously the greens, and I'm watering these paints down quite a lot because we want a paint that lets some of the red shine through. So we're going to be painting on more layers of thin green paint instead of just one thick layer of green paint. I've got different shades of green going here just to show you that you can sort of do this with any style of green, whatever your favorite orc green is. You can probably still use this technique. We've got even sort of a turquoise going here just for the fun of it. And now we just paint some of the green on top of the reds. Thin layers. And as soon as that thin layer of green starts to dry, you can see we're pretty much getting more of a brown than we are a magenta, and more of a brown than we are a green. But then we add another layer of green. And this is the technique that we're going to be using on the miniature to get great variation in the skin. So as you can see, we're about to have something a lot more interesting happening by using a reddish base coat instead of like a dark green base coat. So let's go see what this looks like on a pair of miniatures. Whoops. So applying the first layer of paint, the red, is just about getting a nice even coverage. Nothing fancy, just a nice layer of whatever red you're using on every little bit of orc skin. So we've got our reds in place and it's time to move on to the greens. But first I just want to talk a little bit about techniques like these.
Down here.
Hi.
Have you ever heard about Squarespace?
Yeah, sure, the sponsor of this video, but I was just...
Exactly. Let me tell you some more.
Yeah, okay.
Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for creating websites, an intuitive platform that I've been using for some time. Lucky for me, there's no need for expertise. You can choose between carefully curated layouts or start a completely personalized website with the new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. A tailored website to suit your needs. For me, Squarespace has been a great tool, starting with a nice template that I can adjust for my specific needs. I've created a website with introductions to my work, with galleries of my miniatures and such. It also hosts my online store. Customizing the shop with print-on-demand t-shirts as well as my own artworks and downloads has worked out well, and with a back end that makes my side of things simple when dealing with deliveries and fulfillment. The checkout and payment options for customers works seamlessly, accepting credit cards, PayPal and Apple Pay, but also pay later options like Afterpay and ClearPay. If you're looking for somewhere to display your art, sell merch, if you have a painting service or sell STLs, start up a website for your own game store or club, check out Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/52miniatures to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Okay, thank you, Alex, and thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. Now back to the technique. I mean, this is not a technique that is essentially just reserved for this green skin and just the red and the green. It's a technique that can be used for anything. You just have to sort of use your imagination and maybe step away from the triad. Things don't have to be dark green to mid green to light green. You don't have to use washes. There's all these different ways of painting that might actually be more efficient in the end, or might give you a bit more of the kind of result that you think is interesting and not just the kind of result that you see everywhere. Regardless, let's go put some green on these green skins. So as I said previously, we need to thin out paint when adding the green because we want it to sort of have a bit of a transparent effect, so it's just, doesn't fully cover all the red. Now, how much water does one use to dilute a paint is not really a question that I can answer, because it very much depends on what kind of paint you're using. So you're just going to have to test adding a bit of water, and if you notice that, maybe this is not covering enough, add more paint, or vice versa. I usually check on, a body part of your choice, but my choice is my thumb, and because it's, nice and handy when you're painting. And you can see that this green is it's not fully covering stuff. It's like semi-transparent. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. And then we're just going to paint this on in sort of a textural manner, which is a really silly word. But what I mean is that I don't want to cover all of the pink. In the deepest recesses, if possible, I just try and leave some of the pink and then cover all the raised bits with green paint. And the best thing with this technique is that when working on skin, at least this is my opinion, things that look like texture is actually good. So, brush strokes and stuff like that is, for me, fine if it's visible, because it just adds to the character of the skin. We can see straight away when this paint is dried, that's not the same color as this green down here on the wet palette. It's a lot more muted and diluted. Now that I see these, it's more like they're kind of like cat people than orcs. But I guess it's okay, because this is a world of fantasy. And so if I want it to be an orc, I just have to say that it's an orc and not a cat person. It's an orc. It's not a cat person. Which looks like a bit of a mess, don't you think? But it's a pretty lovely mess. The thing is, now we can go in with the second layer of green. And wherever we put this, things are just going to get more green. And this way, we've got these really dark pink shadows. We've got some kind of brown in between, and then we've got bright green highlights. So as you can see with more of an orc like this one, compared to the cats, when you've got a face like this that is very sort of almost like cartoonish style orc, the red undercoat, or in this case the orange, is just really handy for lips and all these things. And it's really simple to just get the right vibe going. And obviously, depending on what paints you've been using, what colors you've picked, whatever happens is going to be slightly different. And so instead of telling you how to move on specifically, I'm going to try and just give you some access to the toolbox. Because there's different things we can do moving forward, like highlights, or adding some more shadows if you'd like to. And instead of saying exactly how you should do it, let's try and just show the principle. That way you can just keep using this technique regardless of what paints you have at hand or what color you'd like your orc. There's two areas that might be worth considering giving a bit of extra attention, and that's shadows and highlights. And by using the same paints, we can easily create some shadows just by mixing some of the green with the red, and you'll get your sort of brown shading. For the highlights, we're going to have to add one more color, which is a pale yellow. Now, if you don't have a pale yellow like this, you can just mix some of your yellow and your white, whatever brand of paint you've got going. The thing with the highlights is you can both highlight the green, you can also highlight the red. Say you've got the sort of the lips and stuff like that in the orcs, or things in the skin where you just want a bit more of a highlighted red or pink. You can use this yellow to highlight both the green and the reds. Now, obviously, you might have paints in your paint collection that, you know, are brighter versions of the other paints, and then you can just use them. This is just an example of what you can get by just using pretty much three paints. You've got a green paint, you've got a red paint, and now we've got a yellow paint. So if we have a look at this lady, for example, some highlights, obviously will make this skin look even more interesting. But we can also consider the fact that she's a bit sort of cartoonish looking. There's the really dark sort of pink shading, and then there's just a jump to that pretty bright green. So depending on what paint you are using, if that's sort of the effect you're going for, but you kind of want to smooth things out a little bit, you can grab one of the shadowy colors and just paint in a little bit of in-betweens, like gradients between the green and the dark pink. And there we are, 4 very different orc skins. Now this is a bit out of context, you know, just looking at stuff against black without painted teeth or painted eyes or stuff like that is not really very flattering. So I should just probably paint the minis. Give me a second. Sponging on some metallics. Painting on lots and lots and lots of different browns. Painting eyes. Teeth. Lots and lots and lots of teeth. Some speed paint. And some rust effects. It's not really effects, it's just orange paint. You can always make rust effects with just orange paint. And orcs like it. They like rust. I'll just get back to painting. Thanks. There we are. That was fast. Maybe not. Just look at what some context can do to all that lovely orc skin, right? Whether or not you agree with my "I can't believe why everyone isn't painting orcs like this" slogan, hopefully you got some inspiration out of this. I just think this technique renders a really skin-like texture to the green skins. Now don't forget that this is just me showcasing the technique. If you want to see some more conventional orcs with some more maybe conventional colors, don't forget to check out the video that is linked above and down in the description. This is just me explaining the technique in more detail. Swap out the paints, swap out the models according to your own taste, and all will be well. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and consider joining the Patreon. The Patreon is in fact what really does keep this channel running, and I'm ever so grateful to all the support that I can get. I hope to see you in the next one. Happy green skin painting and happy Orctober. Bye.